You're listening to CreepGeeks Podcast. Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/CheapGeek. So it begins again. Welcome back to the CreepGeeks Podcast, episode number 118.
Lorraine Warren, Past Lives, Extinct North Carolina Cougar, and Infrared Mice.
Yeah. All right, so welcome back to the podcast. If it's your very first time tuning in, we very much appreciate it. Today we have a very special guest. His name is Bobby.
What's his last name?
It's B. Bobby B. So... that's
Hi,
all you need to know.
Bobby Baranowski joining the CreepGeeks.
Yes. And the best way to spell that is with a B and a period after it. So that way you make no mistakes. So welcome back to the podcast. This podcast is about what?
Oh, broadcasting paranormal news and fun stories from our CreepGeeks Bunker Studio in the mountains of western North Carolina. We're an offbeat news podcast that takes a lighthearted approach to the strange, the stupid, paranormal, and tech topics circulating the web.
Yeah.
Yes.
So anyway, we like to do this podcast. We like to broadcast. We like to talk about stuff, the strange, the weird, the wild, the wonderful, the wacky stuff. It basically, all that weird stuff that keeps you up late at night on YouTube, going down a rabbit hole. Yeah. That's what we like to talk about. And we like to do that periodically, mostly on Sundays, or at least one time a week. We record the podcast and we put it out there for you to listen to. It costs you absolutely nothing.
Yes.
Yeah, that means free. Free is good. So, anyway. So if you'd like to contribute to the podcast, you can certainly do that. We have a telephone number you can call.
That phone number is 575-208-4025.
Yes, you can also subscribe to us on YouTube. If you do a search for CreepGeeks, that's C-R-E-E-P, not C-R-E-P-E, as in Crepe Geeks, you can find us. And from there, you can do the subscription thing. You can hit the bell and notifications and all that jazz. And whenever we put out a podcast, you can basically click it and start it, and you can just basically click away and do whatever you want. And you'll have us and our dulcet tones in the background. It's very, very nice, right? So, the podcast is something we've been doing for a little while. We're over 118 episodes in, and as of this particular podcast, we have over 15,000 downloads so far. And I would just like to say thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's not even a made-up number. I really did look. So, it's like, yay!
Big clan clap.
Yeah. I don't know. I can't do both. I'm not that coordinated, I don't think. So... yeah. So anyway, we have a couple different ways for you to listen to us. You can find us on iTunes. You can find us on SoundCloud, iHeartRadio. You're going to throw one out there?
Google Play.
Google Play Music.
Spotify. Any major podcast player.
Yes. And if you're there and you want to give us a review, we very much appreciate it. We can support the podcast that way. It's very, very nice, and we do appreciate it. So, also, another way you can support the podcast, it's basically absolutely free. Doesn't cost you any time or effort, or basically little to no effort. Is if you do a little shopping on Amazon, and because everybody shops on Amazon, if you use our affiliate link to get there and you buy something, we get a little percentage. It doesn't cost you anything at all. It doesn't change the price, and it basically helps us to keep the coffee flowing. Buying new microphone cables and gas in the albino rhino. So
yeah,
and that link is amazon.com/shop/CheapGeek, because CheapGeek is based off our YouTube channel, where we have way more views, as in over 10 million views, and way more subscribers, and way more interaction than we currently have the old CreepGeeks podcast. But you can help us with that by subscribing and sharing and all that good stuff, because we need to build it up a little bit. So that's what we'd like to think about that. All right. Now we got that out of the way, is there anything else?
No.
All right. See you later. So,
no, we have a guest today.
I know.
And we also have a bunch of news.
It's Bobby B.
Yes.
Can I spell his last name?
B-A-R-
I just talked about this. B, period.
A-N-O.
There you go. B, period. So we did a podcast before. We actually talked about past lives and past life regression from the Asheville Past Lives Project. It's where we had Bobby come in and talk to us a little bit. And what we realized is we didn't really talk about it per se in a way that if you didn't understand the mechanics of it, it wouldn't quite make sense. So that's why we brought him back to talk about that and some upcoming events. So it should be very much exciting. But before we actually do that, let's talk about our interesting factoids.
So,
because that's how we like to start the show.
Our interesting factoid, and Bobby, you can join in anytime on this. It is the holiday today. It is Easter for many people. And we have 10 fascinating or weird Easter facts.
Yeah.
And this does come from the Mirror UK. We're just going to gloss over some of these. Like the obvious one is Easter is widely considered the most important Christian holiday. Well, that's not
or
so.
Festival.
Yeah, that's not so much weird. But there's ones like in Norway, it's tradition to read crime stories over Easter weekend.
Wow, okay.
Why? Now, it dates back to 1923 when two authors promoted their new crime novel by taking out an advertisement on the front page of the Norwegian newspaper on Easter weekend. So the advertisement was so realistic that many people thought the book's title, Bergen Train Looted in the Night, was a real headline. The publicity got national attention, and the novel was a huge success. So starting from then, now people in Norway on Easter weekend read terrible crime novels and stuff like that.
That would be like reading a newspaper from War of the Worlds, right? And was it 32 or whatever that was?
Yeah.
The radio broadcast. And then that's how you celebrate Easter, is like listen to War of the World.
Now, the thing that gets
Worlds.
me, like one of these factoids I don't really buy, eggs have been associated with Easter since the early days of Christianity. They're believed to be linked to pagan traditions as an ancient symbol of new life to celebrate the beginning of spring.
Yeah.
Sure, but how does it tie into Christianity? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Yeah. 500 million Cadbury cream eggs are produced every year. That sounds a little low.
Yeah, it does. I know I eat about 200 or 300.
Yeah.
I'm sure it seems. Especially those like the little mini ones like the robin egg. Those are super delicious.
And until 2018, it was illegal to sell alcohol on Good Friday in Ireland. That's pretty bad. So, yeah. And people have seen Easter eggs for sale as early as December. That's true.
That's garbage.
Because I've actually seen like Cadbury eggs in Walmart in December.
Garbage.
Yeah. In Germany, it is technically illegal to dance on Good Friday.
You didn't talk about the tallest chocolate Easter egg. It was made in Italy 2011. It was 10.39 meters high.
So?
Yeah. And if you're American, you really don't know what that means. So just basically, that's like, I don't know.
Wait, let me get my calculator.
Okay, so 10.39 times 3.3 meters is what?
10.
How many is that?
10.9 meters.
10.39 meters divided by...
It's about 35 feet.
Square root.
It's almost 36 feet.
It's 37 feet tall. That's the biggest, tallest chocolate Easter egg ever.
100 feet.
Made in Italy. Nice.
Oh, you.
And you know what was inside it?
What?
Spaghetti sauce.
That's gross.
I'm sorry, it's pasta sauce. It's spaghetti. Yeah, it's in there. Probably it was heavier than an elephant.
Now there are links to everything we talk about in the podcast. So I didn't go over all 10, but I went over the most interesting ones that'll be in the show notes for this episode.
Can you imagine trying to eat that thing? You know how you eat that egg?
One bite at a time.
That's right. That's how you eat an elephant too. One bite at a time.
And
Wait, that was pretty good. Hold on.
I was coming up with my own.
That was pretty funny. Oh, got jokes, bro. How you like that? Very nice. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Is that all you got?
Well, no, other than the big news right now, it's in the news this week. Lorraine Warren, the paranormal investigator and researcher, she did pass away this week at the age of 92. That's a very long life.
Yes.
Full of the paranormal and unexplained.
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about her in just a minute. So
Yeah.
we're going to roll back and talk to Bobby.
Yes.
How's it going, Bobby?
I'm doing good. How you guys doing?
Pretty nice.
Yeah.
Doing pretty nice. All things considered. It's a nice day. The trees are pollinating and spitting that yellow stuff all over the cars. It's amazing.
And that
So
pollen
yeah,
is.
if you guys enjoy pollen, you should leave us a little message and let us know how much you really enjoy it in the comments. I'm telling you. And you can go to CreepGeeks.com and you can actually leave us a message about how much you enjoy the yellow pollen. It's in your throat.
And we found out that
nose.
pollen can affect microphone cords in the studio today.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Eats right through them. Evidently. I got this, I should have got the ones that are like pollen free. They're insulated against microphone noise, but not
They
pollen.
got like a non-pollen label, kind of like non-GMO.
We have a pop filter, but not a pollen filter.
We need a pollen filter.
Yeah, that's
like
true.
Speaking of the microphone, you get all that yellow stuff in your throat. It's disgusting.
But Bobby, you just got done with an event, the Illuminate.
Yeah,
that was
Yeah.
fun. That was really interesting. They do a great job. I think it's about the 5th one they've done here.
Yeah.
There's probably like 70 healers, readers, and guides in one at the Flat Rock Community College.
Mm-hmm.
It's a wonderful event, a great weekend. Met a lot of nice people. I didn't have anyone come out and say the CreepGeeks secret word to me, but
We put the word out.
but I did get some waves. So
Yeah.
You're like, what?
So
Can you imagine? Like, creepily geekly. Like, look, get out of here, you Harry Potter guy. Like, no Harry Potter here. I'm like, what? No.
Next year we'll have a secret word. We'll set
So
it up.
That
When
secret
you-
word's going to be pizza.
yeah, when you do these events, do you usually have to explain the whole concept of past lives, or are most people familiar with it?
Well, here's the thing. It's 15 minutes. It's
Oh.
a 15-minute session that people buy.
So they better know what's up when they get there.
It's
Yeah.
just boom. It's hit and run. You got to really. I go boom. I really get them into it. And
So somebody goes, well, yeah, what is it? Like, next. You need to get to the back of the line and figure it out.
close your eyes. Okay, do this. Yeah.
You got a phone? Look up Wikipedia.
Yeah, I did give a talk, and that was even in 35 minutes of talking, it wasn't enough time to cover the whole topic.
Oh.
I was like, okay, so I got to keep trying to condense into small bites,
Yeah.
like the ramen eggs of the Cadbury.
Yeah.
You got to get it all.
Those are the good ones,
Everything's
though.
there. It's
They are
just in a
super-
smaller.
They are super tasty,
smaller
too.
space.
But do you have like a condensed or easy way to explain?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Definitely. Absolutely.
What is it?
Okay. Oh, you want to hear it?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, the idea is basically starting from the premise that we do not come here as a blank slate.
Okay.
So if you just accept the fact that we have energy in our field, or talents, tendencies, abilities, gifts, and fears and phobias and things that just come with us, that
Okay.
we just, kids just have this stuff. Sometimes it's abilities like the kid that, knows about baseball and flying and stuff like that. But it's also, minor things that we all come around with. And the idea is that, we should find out what these things are and either, bring them into our life or release them so that they don't give us problems.
And all of those things stem from a past life?
Not everything.
Or...
It's just, it's just some stuff. Some of it does.
Okay.
And a lot of the people that come to me are the people that go, I've always had this blah, blah, blah. I've always been attracted to the islands or Greece or this specific, painting or music, or I've always got this tendency whenever I do such and such. People seem to know that they have something that comes from that they didn't adopt in their lifetime.
Okay. So like my family has never been interested in hiking. they're not hiking people, but I'm the only one that hikes.
Mm-hmm.
Would that be probably something I'd want to explore?
It could be. Yeah,
Okay.
it would be. What I've been doing lately, which has been really interesting. I started off with something called the awareness techniques, which is a non-hypnotic method of getting people into a past life experience without hypnosis and without a complicated induction. It was about 6 to 8 minutes of kind of expanding, doing some exercises, mental exercises, and now I'm finding, I realized when I started doing group work that I can get people in by using an emotion as a bridge into a past life.
Oh.
Like in a group, since I've got a room full of people and I don't want to, it's like, let's all be traumatized. we go to the idea that somewhere on the planet you had a positive experience, the happiest lifetime previous to this one. No matter how happy this one is for you, sometime before this you had, the second happiest life, and the emotion of that life can draw you back into it. And we've had amazing results over the last year and a half. In fact, that's what I do in the 15-minute session where you don't have time to do anything. Just boom, get to this emotion, bring it back, tell me what you're seeing, and then you've reclaimed it. It's like, oh, this is a part of me that I didn't know I had.
Okay.
So what I've been doing lately is now that I know I can get people in using an emotion, I've been working with people who have these arts or these skills or talents and abilities. Like, okay, let's use that. Feel yourself into the awareness, what it feels like in your body and the joy and the experience you have of doing this, and use that into an experience and see where in the past life where this came from, if it has a past life origin, and then also how did it work out for you the last time you did that? It's like, oh, sometimes it was a lot, sometimes it's a lot of fun, sometimes it got you in a lot of trouble, and I for a while there I was getting a lot of people, we're in Asheville, Sedona East, where a lot of people are doing energy work and healing, stuff like that, and a lot of times in the past that was not a good thing. People didn't take kindly to that. And a lot of people got killed for it and burned at the stake and stuff like that. And they shut it down because of that. Yeah. And now they're trying to bring it back in, and they've still got a slight resistance in their energy field because there's a knowledge that it's like, gee, I really want to do this. It'd be nice if I didn't get burned at the stake or get stoned or get my whole
so it's like a bred in or kind of like inferred barrier to get to those past lives because of centuries or 100. Yeah.
Or just, there was an idea that some part of our consciousness is always working to protect us.
Okay.
So even though we're trying to do this very positive thing, a part of our consciousness said, remember the last time when your community drove you out and you lived in the
dunked
desert?
You in a river?
Exactly. Yeah. And if you were in a duck, you died. Yeah. So people are, there's a part of your consciousness that's trying to protect you from having that happen again. So if you find out how it was and go, okay, let it go, forgive the people that were involved and forgive yourself and reclaim the energy that got you where you wanted to do this activity and bring it back into your present day life.
So with the techniques that you've spoken about as a way to draw people into these past life regressions, I guess with what you just said, the barrier and the resistance, do you find that some techniques are more successful than others, getting past that barrier or that resistance to finding your past life?
Well, mine is obviously the best.
Yeah.
I know. There's a lot of great ways. My idea is that it's getting easier.
It's getting easier?
When the guy, William Swigard, that came up with the awareness techniques in 1968, I don't think he had the idea that you could take a room full of people all at once and in 10 minutes get them into a past life experience and bring them back and talk about it. It's just, I don't think you could have done that back. Maybe you could, but he obviously didn't have the concept of it being possible. But something's different 50 years later where it's easier to do that now.
Well, it's probably the whole multitasking instant society we're in, really.
Yeah.
I mean, because everybody has cell phones, everybody can basically multitask, right? So you give things a certain amount of time and you move on to something else and you can shift so quick. And I would think that maybe that has something to do with it because people can just kind of change gears real quick when they need to. I think moreover than, maybe from back in the 50s or something like that, where if you try to, drag somebody kicking and screaming into this, now it's regular. It's like, okay, you go from something like Instagram to Facebook to, just in seconds, you're just popping through all that stuff. So maybe that makes it a little bit easier. I don't know. It's kind of weird.
No, is because most people would say, oh, it's because culture has found it more acceptable. But I can say,
well, sure.
To a
certain degree, but I think that I think people in general have an entire. I think that people in general with their cell phones and the internet have a completely secret sort of history, right? Because you can just look at anything you want.
Yeah.
And I think some of that may make it more palatable for people to accept this kind of thing because you can just sort of branch off and do whatever research you want, right?
Yeah.
That's
you can look at whatever you want. So, on the outside, you may be like, oh, I don't believe in this woo-woo stuff. But in your secret search histories, you've been checking out all sorts of crazy stuff on YouTube, you know what I mean? And you might see it enough times and go, that's not out of the realm of the, unordinary with me.
Well, so like
You
the
know what I'm
normalizing?
Yeah, it's like a
Okay.
secret normalization because you've just been cruising through the internet seeing all sorts of weird stuff anyway.
So, Amazon keeps feeding me ads for one brand of shoes, or they keep feeding me ads for one type of spirituality book. I keep seeing it, and it just makes it more
Maybe.
commonplace.
And that's why probably some people are super shocked, right? They're like,
Yeah.
I don't understand why it wants me to, it's like because you're secretly looking at it too. That's really what it is, right?
Well,
Your
for
browser history doesn't lie.
For me,
I mean, maybe it has something to do with it. Maybe they're just to.
like what was the
I
guy who
don't know.
invented the awareness technique?
William
Swigert.
Swigert and
William-
his wife
William-
Diane. Yeah.
So they probably invented it in like a small situation with a group of like-minded people
Yeah, in Florida.
in Florida. So being out here in East Sedona of Asheville, you probably have to surround yourself with people who already have that natural curiosity where it's normalized.
Yeah, but I mean, it works outside of these little pockets
Okay.
of woo-woo-ness.
Yeah.
I've worked with people all over the world, and it still works. So it's just we just have a concentration of people doing the work in Asheville.
That's cool.
But there's
Yeah.
always been individual people that are the one advantage of the internet is that you can find your tribe online.
Yeah.
You can go to whether
You can find your weird.
Yeah, exactly. It's much easier to, you can find your CreepGeeks community or your whatever it is basically whatever you're into. It's a universe of niches.
Yeah.
So if there's a bunch of past life forums that you go to and post on, and so you can always find people doing this. We just happen to be surrounded by it, and we're marinating in
Yeah.
groups of people doing it in Nashville.
It's gross.
Well, no, because like okay, I get
We're
it, because
stewing
like
in the juice, man.
I'm stewing in groups of like rock hounding because I really like rocks. But then you look outside of that,
That's gross too.
and people are like, "What? There's whole groups dedicated to rocks."
It's like easy rock nerds.
Yeah, true. So I could imagine the same thing, for past lives, for conspiracy stuff,
anything there
UFOs,
is. Yeah.
and it's just but it is eye opening to see just how much
Yeah, it's
of
definitely
it there
you can
is.
definitely get your nerd on.
Yeah.
Like with anything these days.
What's interesting about I realized very quickly when I started doing this here in Asheville about 3 years ago is that I could do it online with the same technology with video conferencing,
Mm-hmm.
Zoom which just went IPO this week.
Yeah.
As long as I can see the person, it doesn't matter if they're in Portugal or in California. And I'm in Asheville, I can see them and we can work and do this technique. So you don't even have to be in the same room with anybody anymore.
And see, that's interesting because that goes against some like the things that when I was a kid, I was taught like, oh no, these types of things have to be done one-on-one in person
Exactly.
in order for them to quote unquote work.
Yeah.
But you do these teleconferencing and it's somebody halfway across the
Yeah,
world.
and it works. Yeah. Interesting. There's a real interesting woman named Dolores Cannon who I was one of those people. I had to open my eyes to her. She looks like everybody's grandmother. I
Yeah.
mean, she's this lovely little lady in like Arkansas somewhere, and she's got 17 books out talking to Nostradamus and UFOs and stuff like that. She started as a hypnotherapist and then started doing past life stuff and went even further out with that.
She really does look like everybody's grandma.
Yes, I love her. She's wonderful. Yes, and she's so. She'll just talk about. She'll talk about this. She's been doing it for 40 years, so it's no big deal for her to talk about aliens and people from other planets and stuff like that.
I'm looking at her photo now, and it looks like she would serve you a plate of cookies as well as tell you the legend of Star Crash.
Yes. But what's interesting is she came up with her own hypnotic technique called quantum hypnotherapy. QHHT is her own technique of getting into her states.
Quantum healing hypnosis.
Quantum healing
hypnosis.
hypnotherapy.
Yeah.
But she decreed when she did it that you can only do it in person. And then she passed away.
Oh.
And now people are going, okay, we've got this wonderful technique, but we agreed to only do it in person because when she was around before this video conferencing thing was, it didn't happen. So you technically, you can't call what you do QHHT if you work online because she only wanted people to do it in person. So people are doing beyond quantum hypnotherapy online, but they can't call it Dolores Cannon's technique because just because the technology changed, the technology wasn't there. Just like the SWAT guards didn't think we'd be doing a group full of people, Dolores Cannon didn't think we'd have the technology to work with video conferencing to do the same thing.
And you could say the same thing for some of those more older experiments. Like, we joined a paranormal group, and they've been exploring the Estes method. And the Estes method was a way to contact spirits and things like that using very specific, very stringent, guidelines. Now, especially within the past year, people have evolved it or changed it and modified it. Can you still call it the Estes experiment?
Yeah.
But also, if it's not exactly that Estes experiment, how valid are your responses? Or your outcome, I should say.
Yeah.
And
it's almost like a different set of data that you have in person.
Yeah.
I love working online with people online. I mean, in person.
Yeah.
But I just don't get a chance to do it. Even my local sessions are done online because it's so much easier. But on a certain level, people are in their home.
Yeah.
They're more comfortable. They've got their own environment. They're wearing their bunny slippers and and whatever makes them comfortable. And so there's another layer of control that they have over their own and comfort level.
Is that comfort and that layer of control essential to your techniques?
Well, it's nice to have. I mean,
Okay.
You don't get the white lab coat effect, where you tense up and your blood pressure goes up because you're in a cold room. Even if you make the place as warm as possible, there's always another layer of discomfort when you're in another place to do it. So anyway, so it's a whole nother data set of that you can get from working with people online.
Huh. Okay. Oh, do you hear that?
We get sirens. Craig Bishop's radio show, what does he do? Radio Mysterioso always has sirens. We had
really?
our first, we always have. We've got our first sirens. That's cool.
Very nice. Well, there's things you can control and things you can't control.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah. I was just thinking about that. The more relaxed you are, it would make more sense. You know what I mean?
Yes, absolutely.
And so it'd probably help you get probably more accurate and more. I don't know. It just makes sense to be relaxed.
I think
the
increased
key, right?
Yeah, the increased
awareness,
control that the end user has probably helps with that. The process, because
and plus, what if you can't make it? I mean, if you think about it, online in general has really opened the door for a lot of stuff because what if you physically aren't able to make it?
No.
To these sort of things. Now with the internet being the way it is, and he's doing it online, and boom, you just sign in, boom, there you are. Hey, how's it going? And then you go from there.
Yeah. It's amazing how much connection, because there's so many people I've worked with that I either haven't met yet, and I possibly may never meet in person.
Yeah.
But I spent 2 hours looking at them and staring into their soul and working with them, but I may never meet them in person. It's kind of strange.
It's kind of strange.
Yeah.
But that's the world of the internet. I mean, you interact with people on a regular basis that you'll never meet in person.
Yeah.
And sometimes because your community is too large and too spread out.
And sometimes it's for the best.
Until we have the first CreepGeeks conference, international conference, where we can get all that.
You want to wave at from the distance. No,
that's what security guards are for.
That's right.
Greg.
That's true. Well, no,
we can
because
afford that. We can't afford the pollen microphone cable.
I consider myself really good friends with some people on Instagram I've never met before. But they'll
I'm
be
a little old school, man. You still there's got to be. I mean, you can be online friends, but there's a difference between that and you calling one of your online friends to say, hey, can you come help me change a tire at 2 o'clock in the morning? It's a little bit of a difference.
Or move a body.
But then,
move a body or move. That's even worse.
There's rare instances, especially on Reddit, that prove that wrong. I mean, there are people who have known each other.
Those are rare instances,
yeah.
But I mean, I think in order to seal the deal with a true friendship, it has to be a face-to-face meeting somewhere.
But I think with what Bobby does with the past life regression, there has to be some sort of connection there, emotional or mental connection. for the process to be a success.
Well, I mean, let's be honest. He's directing. At the end of the day, you're doing all the work.
Well, I'm guiding it.
There you go.
Yeah.
Guiding. And, you're doing all the work, so it works out.
And then, so somebody will have a regression with you. They may
It's
have
like if you're a moving coach.
Yeah.
And I don't call it regression. Has been kind of refers to the hypnotic technique.
True,
in a
yeah.
way. So I call it a past life exploration or past life journey instead. And that's just a minor tweak, just because regression is literally the idea of going backwards.
Yeah.
And you're going back in time, and that's how they used to do it. You would go back to your 5th birthday party, and then your 3rd birthday party, and then to the being a baby, and then to the womb, and then so you have to go back incrementally, because that was the only way you could get your brain to accept. Maybe that's that's the only way you could accept. Oh, okay, I do remember my 5th birthday. Maybe this feels familiar, so I can accept what I'm seeing when I'm going into a past life. So now, but now we're going boom right there. I
would think it would be more successful with your technique, where it's hold on to that emotion or that significant point, because I'm alive, and in my current life, I can probably remember my 5th birthday. I can't tell you nothing about my 6th birthday,
Yeah, that's true.
But I can also tell you all about the 8th birthday, because that was really emotional for me.
Oh, okay.
I could see it being more successful going back to an emotional event as opposed to, 1985.
It's hard to remember all the finite details.
Yeah,
things are, you have more of an emotional response. You're tied more to emotional responses than anything.
Yeah, and there were people like this. I just finished a book by a guy named Roger Woolger, who was doing this stuff in the 1980s. So it's people. I didn't know about it till recently that people were doing this stuff, doing a non-hypnotic induction or getting people back using emotional states for 30 years.
Wow.
And that was a real eye-opener for me.
I was going to say, how was that like what?
What? Say what?
Man. Is it possible?
Yeah.
Like
So
all those work's already been?
It's been going on for a while, they might have opened the door in some way, it's the 4-minute mile effect. That's impossible, and then somebody does it, and then a bunch of people can do it.
Yeah.
And so maybe at some point he figured something out. I don't know how he came across it in terms of why not just go there directly instead of going through an induction process. But it's also easier to get there. I just think the material is waiting on the surface for us, waiting to be discovered. And
is there anybody who you've tried to do these journeys with, and it takes maybe more than one time, or like
more than one time to get them there?
Yeah, to get them there.
I've been hitting pretty good in terms of getting people there.
Wow.
Women, 99.5%. Men, about 85%.
Really?
Sometimes it's a little bit more right-brained.
What?
A little bit more.
Nothing. Yes, who's emotional?
Hey, anyways, I don't think it's that much of a... I think it's more along the lines of the right brain versus left brain than the gender thing.
No,
okay?
it's just, women are more in touch with their emotions.
And I know there are several right-brained women out there on this planet, so...
And is it right brain is rational? I keep forgetting that. Because it's right. I'm right-handed, so my left brain is functioning, but it's my... Anyway, whatever it is.
We're gonna Googleize it.
Googleize it, okay.
If you are mostly analytical and methodical in your thinking, you are said to be left-brained.
Okay, it's left-brained.
If you tend to be more creative or artistic, you're thought to be right-brained.
All right, so it's the left-brained people that have a hard time with this.
Yeah. What?
and really, all you have to do is trust the first image, and that's the hard thing. That if you go because I can get you to a place where you can see an image, and all you have to do is trust that image and go with it. And if you're sitting there fighting that, I don't know about this, I don't think I can do this, or if you're trying to, I shouldn't be seeing ballet slippers, I'm a 6'4" bearded man, it's like, okay, but maybe at one point you had a past life where you wore ballet slippers, so you should trust that and allow it.
I don't see what the hang up would be, but yeah, I mean,
I think it should be mandatory that everybody should experience a life as a person of the opposite sex,
No.
because it just you
So
know,
depending on your faith or your religious background, when it finally comes time for you to be recycled, it should automatically be the next gender.
no,
Or-
I meant this time.
Okay.
You should at least have at one point have an awareness of what it's like to. It's just so different to be if you're a big burly guy, it's totally different to know what it's like to be a diminutive, non-physical strength, gifted woman. And if you're a petite woman, it's interesting to know. I just worked with a woman last week who just like, I am so big, my hands are so giant, and she was tripping on the fact that like she was in this body of this very large man wearing, being an outdoor type. It was complete opposite from what she was. But it's like that's a great experience to have. Like, because we only know what we know this time around anyway.
Yeah.
So you've had that experience. Chances are, I don't think we go back and forth like 50-50. I think people have tendencies toward male and female. That I've been female in the past. I think predominantly male. But there are probably people that might be have a different ratio in their past. But you should it's fascinating to have that experience to know what it's like.
And I'm kind of under that impression that this is one of my few lives as a female. So yeah, I'm like, maybe that tomboy streak has followed me for a long time.
Interesting, yeah, the whole tomboy, especially as kids.
Yeah.
There are women who are just much more comfortable doing guy stuff up until a certain point that adolescence takes over or whatever, or some people don't ever get over it. That's one of those things they brought in.
Yeah.
In their energy field is this thing that feels very male or very comfortable doing physical things or things that require strength and dexterity in a different way.
Or like me, IT industry, I got in when it was still primarily male, and it just felt normal and acceptable. And then, try to go out with the girls and do stuff. I'm like, this is okay. So.
Well, if you ever want to try it, I've offered that. I make it available. If you want to check it out, we could use your. Okay, what does it feel like to be doing IT stuff? Use the energy of that.
Okay, nerd.
Okay, nerd.
Let's get started.
Okay, I'm working on an abacus.
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm in China, but I've got an abacus.
It's like, did you reboot the abacus yet?
Wait, I can make this abacus so much more efficient.
I invent a zero. No. But I don't know. And that's one of the things that I've always been curious about is like the exploration into not just, different gender or different stations in life, especially with Hinduism, which is a very, it's a very significant faith on the planet. Hinduism has a large percentage of believers. How does the caste system play into reincarnation with them versus how, I guess, Westerners, us, how do we view reincarnation? Does the caste system affect it?
Yeah, I don't even know. The funny thing is that the people on the lower end of the caste system probably don't have access to exploring this.
That's true. Yeah.
And the wealthier people have an easier. Although, some would say that you bounce back and forth. Like if you're rich and you're a jerk, and that you're going to have an experience as being the person that washes the bedpans instead of being the person that has their food served on a silver tray.
Yeah.
So you might be bouncing back and forth anyway. Now, as far as why we go back and forth and then go back again, I haven't quite figured that out.
I don't think anybody has, though. So.
But I'm going to.
I'm going to.
I'm determined to.
But
I'm going to try.
Now, I'm trying to follow along our notes. I'm like, okay, what else were we supposed to ask Bobby?
I don't know. You probably will never find. You're probably never going to find that.
What?
There's just too many different factors.
Well, and
to determine this time I'm like, man, I can't wait till next time. I'm going to be rich. You know what I mean? Because that kind of goes into the with the Hindi in general, like the whole reincarnation thing, right? You keep going until you get it right, but they're not going to tell you.
Yeah.
It's like you won't be hip to what's right or not.
Well, there's also the idea that this is the training, it's a learning ground, a training ground, and that after a certain point, you don't need to come back here and do that. What I tell people is, you've been in a series of physical bodies, but then in between there, there's a continuity of your consciousness when you're not in a body. And the interesting thing is that the work doesn't end when you're not in a body. The learning process goes on, and the collaborative process goes on in the non-physical part of us. So we can reach a point where we don't need to incarnate and go through a tsunami or cancer or even inventing something here in the physical world, because there's more work for us to do in the spiritual realm.
Well, that just makes me go, what kind of work do you have to learn in the spiritual realm as opposed to the corporeal experience?
It's stuff that we can just barely grasp. I mean, think about what we've done in the last 100 years. My grandparents came over on a boat from Poland, and into a world where before there were cars and electricity and air conditioning and all the great things that made our life wonderful, and in that lifetime, so much has changed. So we can't even imagine what 2120 is going to be like.
That's true.
So things are changing so fast that, there's an idea that the work that we're experiencing, the technology even, is being created off in the non-physical and brought down here. And then, we bring it in and it makes this place more interesting so that the planet evolves in a certain way.
So those leaps and bounds are kind of being sketched out in the ethereal, or in that.
Did you say ethereal?
I can't talk. So,
okay.
Ethernet. Outside of the...
And the Ethernet.
Ethernet. Which one is right?
Anyways.
Yes,
Ethernet.
Yes.
So that's all already in progress or already being done, and then we come down and invent it.
Or maybe everything that we have here in the physical world is just a fragment of what the non-physical, like the whole internet, is just an attempt to come up with something which you have in the non-physical world, where you have
collective consciousness.
Yeah, collective consciousness and the searchability, Google ability. Yeah. Maybe that's the whole idea. Like, you can always just ask a question or find someone to get that information to. And here on Earth, we came up with a way to do it with a computer, but that might have been something.
Huh.
And I don't think I thought about that.
That's amazing.
That was the creep-geekiest thought we've had. We've had a creep-geek breakthrough here. Thank you, folks.
I think we talked about
you
that
were
last
there.
time.
Oh, yeah. Well, we did, because we kind of bounced around with the Akashic record.
That's right. Yeah.
But so we need to jot that
dun,
down.
Dun, dun.
But yeah. So you did the Illuminate event. Do you have any other events coming up soon?
Yeah, I will be right here at the Shop Eclectic in, was it May 11th?
Yes.
We're going to do a talk and a group demonstration, which ought to be very interesting. I came to the first of the series of talks that Marina Krahalis did on past lives, and I didn't think that they wanted to do another past lives talk, but Craig prodded me, just poked me and said, "Why don't you do the next one?"
That's right. Shamed him.
Yes.
Shame.
Challenged me to come out. So anyway, yes, that's going to be very interesting. Because I missed the last one because it was the same night as
the Illuminate.
Yeah.
So we'll be here next month, 7:00.
Yep.
Right here at, was it 49 State Street?
49 State Street.
Yep.
In beautiful downtown Marion.
Yeah.
You take a left at the Bigfoot sign in the shop window over here, which I love.
Actually, it is really easy to get here. M&D, as well as the shop, they've made sure there's easy directions on Google, Facebook, and I think even a couple other places too.
Yeah,
so,
I posted it on my Facebook page for the Asheville Past Lives Project.
Oh.
I'm sure that you guys will have something up in the next couple of weeks.
Actually, we'll probably have it up sooner.
Yeah.
It'll definitely be sooner. So you'll be able to find it on Facebook.
Yeah.
And Instagram and your website, which is what?
Asheville. It's pastlivesproject.org.
Very nice.
And eventually we'll have it live stream, but I don't know if we're there yet.
Yeah.
We might be.
When Marion gets their
might be.
super
internet.
5G.
Yeah, I got to figure that out. I got to figure out if that's a. We've done it before. We'll see if we can do it again.
Right. And then I'm also doing a workshop at there's a wonderful, the people that sponsored the Illuminate Expo have a wonderful bookstore in Hendersonville called Crystal Visions.
Oh.
And I did a workshop there in March that went really well. So I'm going to do one next month, May 21st, Tuesday, May 21st. That'll be a 2-hour workshop on the past life work that I do combined with EFT tapping. EFT is the emotional freedom techniques, tapping on meridians to move stuck energy.
Oh, cool.
So I you don't need to know anything about either past lives or EFT. You can come out and learn a little bit about each.
Yeah.
And the Shop Eclectic, that's a free talk.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the workshop at Crystal Visions is $15 to help me pay for the room.
Oh.
Very nice.
Wow.
And then I've got the meetups in Asheville, usually the first Mondays at the West Asheville Library.
Is it the first Monday of the month?
Yeah, and that's we're in our third year of monthly meetups. That's a lot of fun.
Cool.
I'm just trying to add some of this to the
Oh, okay.
CreepGeeks calendar.
There's frantic typing
Yeah.
going on in the background.
Only because, we mentioned it the first time you were on the show that you had the meetups, but we didn't have West Asheville Library.
Oh,
so
okay.
we'll be sure when the podcast goes out that we actually pump some of those
Okay.
things.
Thank you. very
Yeah.
much.
But
And those need to be live streamed for your international audience too.
Yes.
yes, they
But
should.
the library's IT is not up to. I can't even get meetup on my line.
They let you have meetups there. Shh.
Well, yeah. It's
Well, they need to make sure their infrastructure is current.
yeah.
They want to keep doing meetups.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Keep having people utilize
Well, it's
space.
not strong enough to do a
So they
a
got some
live
weak
stream.
internets. Is what
Yeah.
you're saying.
yes.
It's terrible.
But
Weak.
But thank you for the opportunity to talk about this stuff. I
Heck
love
yeah,
it.
no problem.
And I'm really enjoying the podcast. I love anytime I get an Omi giggle in my listening in my car. It makes my day.
it just happens.
I love
so,
it.
but it's the fact that what?
Nothing. I'm just kind of hanging out.
I know you are. I'm trying to fill some blank space
Well, I know,
for
but
you.
see, here's the thing.
Yeah.
You're trying to fill the blank space, and I'm like, okay, well, now it's time to do the commercial. Oh, wait. There she goes again.
Right. Craig is
Okay, here
also
we go.
our producer and
Yes.
Sound guy.
engineer.
Sasquatch multi-tool user. I'm like, nope, gotta wait. And I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to play Bobby's commercial.
Pollen filterer.
But he already did it. So it's like, now what do I do?
Well, you can play it
We
again.
can play it again later.
I'm going to play it again.
Well, thank you. This is weird.
Ready?
This is not weird at all listening to myself.
Yeah. Well, I can't even find it. Where did it go? I don't even know. Oh, here it is. It's right here.
Who's this engineer?
You ready? Go.
Hi, this is Bobby from the Asheville Past Lives Project. I'd like to invite you all to a talk I'll be giving on May 11th, 7 p.m. at the Shop Eclectic in Marion, North Carolina. I'll be talking about past life explorations for the 21st century, and we'll do a demonstration of a group past life journey. Starts at 7 p.m. It's free and part of the Shop Eclectic monthly lecture program. Thanks to my friends at M&D Investigations and CreepGeeks for the invite. The Shop Eclectic is at 49 State Street in downtown Marion. Come by and say hi. There will be snacks.
That's the best part of the whole thing.
Greg made me say that.
There will be snacks.
There will be snacks.
It's like, people are like, I don't know if I'm, whoa. Hold on a second.
Wait, it's free and there'll be
There
snacks.
will be snacks.
Yeah.
That's
I
like
got
a-
my Saturday night
That's
planned.
like a yeah.
That's because the Paranormal Nana or Grammy.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
like
Mary.
the last one, there was like sloppy joes and stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
They,
People
put
were like-
they put the feedback
He's
on.
like,
It's
is
pretty
that
awesome.
One guy was like, "Is that sloppy joes?" I was like, "Yeah, man." He's like, I think I might need to get one of those. I was like, "Well, you need to make up your mind because I'm trying to get one." He's like, "Oh yeah, hold on a second." So it was just funny. It was like, is that sloppy joes?
That's like,
Well, yes, it is sloppy
We
joes.
call Mary, who runs the Shop Eclectic, the Paranormal Grammy, and she
Does she
makes
know
sure.
that?
Yes, she does.
All right.
Yes, because she also calls herself Pepper's Grammy. So, yeah.
For those of you listening to the very first time to the podcast, that's our dog.
Pepper. But yeah, she always makes sure there's snacks for people at all of these events. It's very sweet, and yeah, she's awesome. So, but we're excited for May 11th. We are.
Snacks.
Yeah.
For snacks.
No, I love the events. I love coming down here and checking out the events because there's always something new. So
Yeah. Go back to a time where you have a really happy memory and you're like cake.
Of snacks.
Snacks and cakes.
What was the best snack you've ever had in a past life?
You never know. That might be a trigger for somebody.
I'll
You
put
should
it on
try
my
it.
list.
You should
I'll put it on my list.
Think back to your best snack ever. Like, what?
Don't think, experience.
and you get the person.
Feel the best snack.
But then you get the person who invented gelato, and you're like, all right, this is a successful technique.
It worked then.
Yeah.
What snacking experiences have we lost to the
That's
mist of
true.
time?
It kind of makes you wonder because snacks do change over time.
Yeah, absolutely.
I bet there was some absolute garbage snacks during Renaissance time.
Because a couple of our interesting factoids have been about the inventions of certain snacks.
Yep.
Like
Really?
we
Oh.
did one about the invention of the waffle cone and how it was literally a slapdash. I don't want to get ice cream all over me.
Right, at a
Yeah.
state fair?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the hot dog guy was out of hot dogs.
Yeah, the hot dog guy was out.
So they kind of got
So you
together.
Put it on a piece of bread and get
Yeah.
into it. Yeah.
Well, he didn't have any more hot dogs, and he was using the waffle
Oh.
to make a bun, like
Yeah.
kind of.
Oh, wow.
And then we also talked about the fly swatter because that was important. I can't remember what the deal was with that.
Yeah.
Cornflakes was actually health food,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kellogg. Yes.
and they were called something else too. And then the two brothers, the Kellogg's brothers, like fought over it
Yeah.
because one of them was like, it needs to be a strict health food kind of thing, and the other one was like, we need to make money. And so the money guy kind of
More
went out.
add sugar.
Yeah, it's
Lots
like
of
we
sugar.
need money. Well, that was part of it too because he wanted to add some things to it to kind of kick it up. There was a bunch of weird stuff like that.
Yeah, but that's the type of stuff we talk about.
Okay. Past life snacks. That's on the list.
It's like picture yourself
Maybe the next workshop will do snacks.
sleeping on a Twinkie. I bet it's soft. It is a sponge-like material.
I don't think it's got enough to hold up a person though. So
Well, you need to make it bigger. Just much like that was a 34 or 37-foot egg.
300-foot
Weighed as much as an elephant.
spaghetti-filled egg in Italy.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about it. It's
Spaghetti
full of
sauce.
pasta sauce. Wouldn't that be disappointing, though? You're like, this
So
is going to be the best chocolate egg ever. And you get to the middle and you crack it open and you're like, oh, my God.
Right. And like a cone, some kid's going to poke it at the bottom and all the spaghetti sauce is going to come out.
It's probably going to have spaghetti in it, so it's going to look like guts.
oh god.
We should invent that right this time.
No.
It's going to be good.
They came out with a Cadbury mayonnaise for
That's
this
disgusting.
Easter. Yeah.
Is it got chocolate in it?
No, it's the cream-filled center of Cadbury eggs.
But is that mayonnaise? Or are they just
It's
saying
mayonnaise.
It looks like mayonnaise.
You mean the mayonnaise inside of a chocolate egg?
No, like
Oh.
I think it's like Hellman's a mayonnaise company is coming out with a mayonnaise flavored like the center of Cadbury eggs.
Flavored like, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So Cadbury.
Okay, you know what? That probably wouldn't be too bad if it tastes like the center of a Cadbury egg.
Yeah, but what
What would be horrible is if you actually get a Cadbury egg and you get into the center of it,
tastes
and,
like
the center is mayonnaise.
even
Can you
a
imagine?
robin's egg would be too
That would
much.
wreck you probably because if you've never had one of those before, you're like, hey man, the center is good, because it's supposed to look like the yolk from an egg, right? When you bite into it. Can you imagine biting into that thing and it's just a glob of mayonnaise?
Okay, so it's Heinz. Heinz collabed with Cadbury to make a cream egg flavored mayonnaise, and it has little tiny chocolate bits in it, like the outside of the egg.
So
It
you
kinda-
like put it on a bologna sandwich?
They don't say what to put it on.
I think they're just thinking of putting it on a spoon.
Oh God,
It's probably delicious.
what would you eat this with?
Yeah.
Probably your fingers.
French fries.
Yeah, there you go. Freedom
Chocolate.
fries.
Freedom fries.
And the article says nothing about what to try it with
Yeah,
at
yeah.
all.
They're just leaving it up to you. Because I tell you, somebody on the internet's going to be like, dude, I put this on a muffin, and it was the best thing ever. And some other guy's going to go,
This is
I
the
put this on roast beef, and it made me sick.
yeah.
Because I thought it was regular mayonnaise.
This
or
is going to
something.
be the replacement for avocado toast for the next generation of kids. Come
Oh.
on.
I don't know.
It might be
Hellman's mayonnaise, Cadbury egg toast.
like on a bagel or something, maybe. I just can't get over the mayonnaise part of it, though.
As a New Yorker, I am vehemently opposed to that. I'm sorry.
Really?
There are some lines that should not be crossed. First you put pineapple on pizza, and now you're putting Cadbury mayonnaise on bagels. I'm sorry. This has to stop here. We've gone too far.
Drawn the line.
We've drawn the line.
We're going down we're circling the drain as a society right now. I think it would be fun to, maybe as some sort of gift exchange, to have a couple regular Cadbury eggs and a couple mayonnaise eggs.
Oh God, that would be terrible.
Put them in a bowl.
Yeah, it'd be like Raiders, right? Raiders of the Lost Ark. He chose poorly. So, because you'd have to basically make it look like a yolk. So it would be mayonnaise and a little dollop of mustard.
I will personally watch the snacks and guarantee that there will be no mayonnaise Cadbury eggs at our May 11th event.
I'm trying to find.
I will try
Why
to
are these eggs
I will try
sticky?
to police this.
I have personally sampled each one of these to make sure that they're not defective.
That's 3 weeks away. It's 3 weeks after Easter, so you'll have to get 2020 next year's supply.
Yeah.
See, it's got little black dots in it.
Oh, that's Cadbury cream egg.
Okay, so it's really not.
Mayo.
It's really not. What does it say?
Seriously good mayo is what it's called.
Yeah, this isn't Cadbury cream egg infused coffee. This is mayonnaise, people. Mayonnaise. And that's off, I guess, today. But this is in response. Apparently, this all stems from Starbucks coming out with a Cadbury flavored Frappuccino.
Did they really?
Yeah. So then,
some of their Frappuccinos turn into Crappuccinos. Like the unicorn Crappuccino was disgusting.
yeah.
Well, you know what? Seeing that on the internet is just the world has become what The Onion used to talk about.
Yeah.
Where the things are so now it's just everyday life is just an Onion article from 10 years ago.
Yeah.
All the stuff we used to make fun of is like everyday reality. We're so far on the other side of the mirror right now. I don't know.
So it's to the point
It's
where
probably delicious.
you have to check the
I'm not
link.
gonna
Did it
lie.
come from The Onion or is this real life?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. It's funny because a while ago people used to post Onion stories and mistakenly, make them viral because they didn't realize it. Now it's just headline news.
Those are always my favorite when
Yeah.
somebody posts something crazy. And they're like, oh, my God, you should be incensed. And it's like, dude, that's not even real.
That's not.
Yeah.
Right?
Hey, my nephew used to work for The Onion, and I was in a picture I had to find it. It was a story about a park in New York that was like 4 feet by 3 feet. So me and my his aunt and their kids were sitting in this little park it was only big enough for us to stand in. And they took a picture of it. I forgot about that. He said,
Is it 3x4 plot of green space rejuvenates neighborhood?
it could be.
Because that looks like you with glass. Oh, no, doesn't
me
really
see.
look like you with glass. No.
Yeah, that's me. Wow, Omi, master of the internet, found something.
You're going to need to put that in the podcast.
We're putting that up.
Link to
Crudely
it.
drawn arrows is Bobby B. Right there.
That's hysterical.
All right, that's going right
I
here.
totally forgot about that. Wow.
Bobby on The Onion. So there we go. But
But now that's reality. Now there is.
Yeah, really.
Now
If you think
we
about
have beautified New
With
York.
like the small houses and small spaces and green spaces and open spaces and all that stuff. There are some really small open spaces.
yeah.
Like where you'll have like a large amount of open space and you have like a road or something that splits it, right? And it'll be like a small spot in the middle. It's still designated open space. And then it kind of follows on to the other side because they don't want to give up,
Right.
because an easement runs through it. So I can actually totally see that.
Oh, man. I found that article. That
That's
was pretty quick.
Incredible. Oh,
Well, I am known for my Google skills.
your Google skills are astounding.
Yes. So. Oh.
Which means that probably in a past life, when you were in the non-physical world, you were the mistress of information.
Oh no! I was like,
or you were that sad person that worked in the library
that's true.
and knew all about the Dewey Decimal System and was so mad when they took it
and
away.
shushed people.
Yeah.
Actually, that's more believable because bring back Dewey. So
Yeah, I think it was one of the hardest things I ever had to learn.
the Dewey Decimal System.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, because my amount of I don't give a damn was so high. It was like two things I really didn't care about when I was learning this stuff in school in the 70s. I didn't care at all about the metric system, and I still don't. And for all of you people listening from around the world, they're like, why don't you? It's like, we just don't care enough to do, regardless of how it is and how much it makes life easier. I can tell you the one reason why Americans don't like the metric system.
What?
A gallon of gas is 4 point whatever liters, like 4.0, 4.2 liters.
Yeah.
So if you go to Canada and gas is, say, $3 or 3.59 Canadian for a liter, let's multiply that by 4 to equal 1 American gallon. My 1 American gallon for our 2018, Ram ProMaster 3.6 liter blah 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 was $2.49 today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So multiply that by 4.
That's $10.
Yeah, for a gallon.
Oh gosh.
And then you want to see that's what would happen, because if you think for 1 second that these oil companies will be like, oh no, we'll just divide it all by 4 and save you some money. No way. Nope. You go to pump and be like $10 a gallon, and the rest of the world will be like, see, welcome to our world. Well, America has these things called highways, and we have roads, and we have all that to be able to transit from one side of the country to the other. Admittedly done during wartime, to make things easier, but we still got them. That's why we got the big wide lanes and super fast cars made to cruise at highway speed. There ain't no way I want to pay 4 times the amount that I currently do.
Because of the metric system.
Right. All because of metric system.
And didn't CreepGeeks originate in New Mexico?
Yeah.
So you guys drove from New Mexico.
2,700 miles.
2,700 miles. So in Europe.
And guess how much it only cost us to come across? It was like $200 to drive. Guess how much it would cost in not America?
$2,700.
Yeah. Just multiply it by 4, about $1,000, man.
Well, that's like we were watching some because we also.
So that's the real reason why we don't give a crap about the metric system. Because when did this happen? It was in the 70s.
Yeah.
I was like 6 or 7, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what happened around that time? I remember sitting in the long lines with my dad because of our artificially inflated and created oil crisis that Jimmy Carter started, where gas went from being like 25 cents a gallon all the way up to like 89 cents a gallon. And they were rationing and all that stuff, and all that sort of happened and culminated around the same time.
Oh, okay.
No, it did.
No.
It was anyway. And so can you imagine? And I remember my dad being angry.
Yeah.
I can't believe gas is 75 cents.
I know. It went up to 75 cents.
Yeah, it went up because it was like 45 cents. Because I remember
overnight it went to 75.
Yeah,
but here
he was just eviscerated because we had like a full size big old van, like a for real, like it was a Econoline 150, and you had like a 40-gallon gas tank.
I think here in the U.S. though they'd try to say, "Oh, well, the new cost you're paying is so that we can redesign all our signs and redo all our marketing because that's capitalism."
Say whatever you want, man.
Yeah,
I'm happy to pay $2.49 a gallon, especially. And I remember just being shocked when I was in England, and I was like, "What's the difference between a liter, an imperial liter, a gallon, an imperial gallon?" I'm like, what the hell? So I asked the guy, I'm like, how much? And this was in and this was surprising. It was Easter in England, and it was like $13 and something is what it equated to be an actual gallon. And that wasn't 13 American. It wound up being like 13 pounds or whatever for a full gallon. So that was like $89 American.
Because I was saying we watch a certain car show online a lot, and it was like they were all excited because they found a place where it's $6 a liter.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah. So, but I don't understand how that goes into the Dewey Decimal System. Getting back to the original point.
Because it was all around the same time. I remember just going, what is going on? Why do we have to learn this and the Dewey Decimal System
But we do cover a lot more territory. I mean, I drove 50 miles to get here to the
you know why?
Mysterious kingdom.
Because you can.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Over a mountain.
Absolutely.
As a matter of fact.
Because a lot of countries weren't created that way because they've been around a lot longer, so the streets are a lot narrower, cobblestone. They just weren't made. That's why rail is so popular overseas, really. So
they put a 6-lane highway over that giant mountain that separates Asheville from Marion.
And it's like, we're not scared to go through it either.
No. In the dark, in the rain and fog. And
it's funny because I was sitting in Portsmouth, England, actually. I was sitting at a bar getting a drink or pub because it's okay to be in a bar or a pub in England, right? And I had an Irish guy talking to me, and he was asking me about traveling in the U.S. and where my parents live and that kind of thing. And at the time, I was like, well, my parents live 400 miles away. And so we had to do the kilometer conversion so we understood. And he was like, well, how many days does it take you to get there? And I said, what do you mean? He said, how many days does it take you? I said, it takes about 6.5, 7 hours. And he just couldn't wrap his head around it. He's like, how? And it's like, because we have the highways, man. They flow. You can just get on, you get on the highway.
Interstate,
Yeah, I mean, you're road flying, right? You just fly to your destination, right? And because he said where his parents lived, and I can't remember exactly where it was, the lanes were super narrow and all that, and the roads were very narrow, and they weren't really made for, vehicular transport like that. So they would go, and he would take his family, and they would stop. Like 75 miles.
That's
time
it.
to spend the night.
Wow.
And that's just kind of... And he said, some of that was, sightseeing and everything else, but he was just floored. I'm like, well, yeah, you get up on the highway, you can go 75 miles an hour, and you can be there, It's blown away. So... And, England has its own highway system, too, like the M5, M3, all that junk. But it's not like, anywhere you live in the U.S., if you can't get on a highway relatively quickly, then you're way out in the middle of nowhere.
You know what's the coolest thing about the highway is that Stonehenge is right off, like their equivalent of I-40.
Yeah.
It's
like M3 or whatever. He's like, there it is.
It's just, it took me, you're kidding. Like, in fact, I think at one point they were putting the highway down lower so that you couldn't see it so that it looked like a level plane around because it's like, oh my God, it's like right there. It's in the middle of.
Like, where is it? And when we were in England, we were taking a bus to go in. It was like, we went and took tours and stuff, and it's just like, if you look over to the left, there's Stonehenge, and we're like, what? There's an exit. And it was like,
yeah.
Did you hear about when they were digging it deeper? They actually uncovered some new remains and some controversial stuff, and they had to stop everything and relocate it onto the Stonehenge property.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they found a couple of grave sites that were really significant.
Wow.
Like things like female warriors with like full stuff,
like Xena?
Or kind of almost, but. Or I think they found like corpses of people who they didn't think made it up that far north, and they actually had to relocate.
The hinge is really huge. It's not just that little part that you see. I mean, it actually spirals out and covers like a lot of distance.
No, I'm talking like they found like Moorish people, you know. So
they didn't think we're going to be there.
So they had to actually stop everything for that construction and move them to like museums and stuff, and then see if they were going to find any more stuff. Yeah, they even uncovered one whole henge rock, so they had to bring that back up. Yeah. So, but yeah, I don't know. I think to be able to see like a major tourist, like if I were to drive past and be able to see the Grand Canyon, that kind of throws me. That's where I equate Stonehenge.
Yeah.
As far as like magnificent things to see.
Yeah.
So and the sad thing about that is that you can go to both those places in an hour and a half to 2 hours. You're done. You're ready to go.
Don't say that.
It's absolutely true. Like I was reading a thread too. Is like talking about like Carlsbad Caverns, right? He's like, oh, how many days should I allocate to go see Carlsbad Caverns? And it's like about 2.75 hours. That's all you need.
For you.
Have you guys done?
Come on.
Have you guys done Luray Cavern?
We haven't done. Well, okay. I haven't done Lorraine in 40 years.
I've never done it.
So we're gonna go. It'll be cool.
Is Luray the one where the guy brought the Hammond organ down?
I think it is.
There's one. If you go down on this this guy, found a hole in his land, just dug around, just kept digging and found this. It's unbelievable. Like now, there's like elevators and stairways down to it, and they brought a Hammond organ down and hooked it up so that the keys on the organ connected to the stalactites, so that you could play a song by hitting these, and it's it's like programmed now, but you sit down and listen to this symphony played, and it's one of the wildest experiences as a musician I've ever had in my life. And it's right here. It's plus the cave it's absolutely astonishing, just beautiful. You guys got to check it out.
No, I'm trying to figure out what it is.
There's also some urban lore.
The internet guru always searching.
Yeah.
There's some urban lore about there used to be a car museum either right next to the Ray Caverns or in that general area that had a bunch of stuff, a bunch of cars, but allegedly they had a 100-mile-per-hour bumper that was created by somebody. Right.
To absorb?
Yeah, and you could put this on your car, or I don't remember exactly what the deal was as far as like what time frame. I remember seeing this or hearing about it in the 80s, but you could bolt this bumper on your car, and somebody could blast you going like 100 miles an hour. It wouldn't cause any damage to your car because the way it was made to absorb impact and do all that sort of thing. And this person was going to sell it to the automobile industry, and they basically tried to sue him to death. Because why do you want a car that can withstand 100-mile-per-hour impact?
Right. Yeah.
Because then people don't get to repair it. You don't get to do the replacement parts, on insurance, all that stuff. These cars are, and especially these days, fast forward 40 years, they're designed to be thrown away.
Yeah.
I mean, if I was to take our van and blast the side of your car going over 20 miles an hour, they're going to total your car. Because unibody construction, that center pillar between the doors, if that's bent too far, it's gone.
It's toast. Yeah. Wow.
So I remember wanting to go to that museum and see that.
I don't remember that.
Is that in Lorraine?
Yeah, it was like this car museum. It's either right next to the caverns or in a really close vicinity.
Well, this is the stalactite. Stalactite organ, and it is in Lorraine.
It is in Lorraine.
Yeah.
Okay. Do they have a recording of it?
They don't have.
Oh, I recorded it when I was down there, and I can't find it on. I think that phone is no longer with me.
Oh, okay. But yeah, apparently various organ pipes are actually rubber mallets that strike stalactites around the cave and are scattered across 3.5 acres.
Wow.
The sound fills the entire cavern. It was.
You know what song it plays?
Moonlight Sonata.
Nope. Final Countdown.
No.
Europe.
Wrong, because this article says Moonlight Sonata.
I'm telling you,
It played in Got to Beat It when I was there. I'm just saying.
They changed it for you.
No. But yeah, this one shows that it'll play Moonlight Sonata or some other stuff.
Or Europe's Final Countdown.
This is built by Leland Sprinkle, who incidentally has the best name ever. Built it in 1954. Took him 3 years to complete the organ, and then get it installed and set up and ready to play.
When did it say he installed it?
1954.
So think about these guys hand carrying a Hammond organ is like a piece of furniture. It's one of the old church organs. Him and his buddy. Hey, buddy, talk about friends. Yeah. Hey, you want to help me move? Okay, what do we move?
Hey, Leland, what are you doing, Leland? Check this out.
I'll buy some beer and pizza after.
Yeah. I'm gonna put this organ in the cave.
For 37 stalactites that are in there. 37. So
it's 37 notes.
Yeah, he had to incorporate all of those.
What's amazing is that he had to. It's a very it's folk music because it's not. You can't tune a stalactite. So you can't. The closest thing to a C on the keyboard is what they use. So he had to go around and bang with a rubber mallet all of his stalactites until he found one that was a C, and then hook up and then find a D and go on through the keyboard. So the sound is like it. It's a very strange sound, but it's totally ethereal. And you're in a cave. I don't know how far beneath the surface.
Is that ethereal or ethereal?
Ethereal.
I can't pronounce certain things. Anyways.
That's crazy.
All right.
Thank you. Now I know. So Leland Sprinkle is my hero. Now if he can get a drum set down there, we'll go.
Leland Sprinkle.
So I've always wondered about that. Like if a percussion instrument, like a drum set, was brought down into some of those places, would it knock some of those rock formations down because of vibration?
Well,
they're probably not.
Well,
I mean, they're not like limestone.
It's interesting he used a rubber hammer because obviously he's figured out. I mean, it's a pretty solid.
Okay.
Was it stalactite is the one from the ceiling, and stalagmite is the one from the ground?
Mites are on the ground.
Okay.
Tights are.
Yeah. I was told it was the C for ceiling and G for ground. That's how.
Well, that's a good idea.
Okay.
So it's he had to find 37 out of however many that work.
So get up there and hit that one. What does that sound like? That's crazy.
So we haven't talked about any of our news.
I know.
That's true. We have not. So we may have to change this entire thing. We'll see. Okay. So we have talked a little bit about Lorraine Warren. She's passed away. She's like, she was a fixture.
Yeah.
And wasn't wasn't her investigation the one that The Conjuring is based on?
Yes.
The Warrens?
Yeah.
Both
Conjurings.
Both Conjurings and the Annabelle one.
Annabelle they talked about
both
too,
The Conjurings, Annabelle, Amityville Horror.
Yep.
There's the one in England, Enfield.
Oh yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's been a bunch of them. And she also, along with her husband Ed Warren, In the New England Society for Psychic Research, they created that in 1952. They've done over 3,000 paranormal and supernatural investigations and episodes. And so Ed was the demonologist, and she was the clairvoyant to the whole thing. And they also had their haunted museum, which is I think it was in Massachusetts. But she was 92 years old.
And that makes me wonder what's going to happen to that museum now.
I'm sure they have family.
I hope so. But yeah. And it's sad, and yes, Bobby's on about past lives, but I think just them coming into popular culture kind of helped pave the way for certain things to be more acceptable. So it is kind of sad that she's passed, and she's been a guest on Coast to Coast and stuff like that.
Oh, she's been everything. Everywhere.
Now Ed passed away a couple years ago, right? Ed
I think
Warren?
so. Yeah.
It was a while.
Yeah.
I think he did in 2006.
Okay.
So it's been quite a while, and then she, went on to do other things.
So the torch has been passed to Tess and Daniel.
Yeah,
That'd
right
be
here
great.
in Asheville.
Yeah. They also investigated a werewolf case.
Yep.
They
did infrared photography and supposedly have
psychic
pictures
photos
of the White Witch.
Oh yeah.
Or the White Maiden it shows the stereotypical ghosty kind of picture that was in a funeral. I mean, not funeral, a cemetery. I can't think which one it was, but
interesting.
Demon Boy. There was a picture of a demon boy that they captured using infrared. So they did a lot of stuff that people currently do now.
Yeah.
Using the technologies and stuff, and they've had their share, or they had their share of, problems. People saying things are fake or whatever, or rigged. But I mean, at the end of the day, how do you prove this stuff anyway? You're trying to prove something that really can't be proven. I mean, even if a ghost came up and punched you in the nose, and 1,000 people seen it, half of those people are not going to believe it. You know what I mean? So this is like a no-win situation. But regardless, excuse me. They were around for a long time doing this.
I know, almost 100 years.
That's crazy.
That's great. Hey, maybe in a couple of years you'll talk to somebody and they're like, I think I was a Lorraine Warren. But I don't know.
It's nuts.
It is sad that she's passed, so she will be missed.
Well, she was 92, and she, passed peacefully in her sleep.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and then,
I mean, that's a long ride, man.
Yeah.
So, but
it was funny earlier in the podcast we were talking about Bobby being on the Onion and how Onion articles are more like, now they're commonplace. And then this has been in the news. It's been in the news for a while now, but this is very Onion, but it's true. Man inadvertently proves that hipsters look alike by mistaking a photo as himself. And that sounds like an Onion article.
Totally, exactly.
But this was actually published an article on a study out of Brandeis University about the hipster effect, which studied how nonconformists usually act unconventionally in the same way, and that makes them exactly all the same.
Nonconformists actually wind up acting the same way by conforming.
But right after it was published, they got an email from some dude who claimed that he was the man in the photo and hadn't given his consent for his photo to be taken.
Yeah, because see, this whole thing is it's a running joke that all male hipsters look alike with their flannel shirts, thick beards, off-brand attributes, right?
And a beanie.
Yeah, and a beanie, right? A beanie in summertime, 1,000 degrees, you got a beanie.
Yeah. And he goes on to say, you used a heavily edited Getty image of me for your recent bit of clickbait articles about why all hipsters look the same. It's poorly written and insulting, and somewhat ironically, about 5 years too late to be desperately relevant. So he's just slandering them. He's just attacking them. And how dare you basically use of my picture.
That hipster rage.
Yeah. Use of my picture without permission demands a response, and I am, of course, pursuing legal action. So the people who released this study quickly checked to see if the model in the photo signed a model release. They contacted Getty Images, who found the person who signed the model release, and it was not the person who wrote the angry email.
Oops.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the guy's like, they sent all that information to the angry guy, and he responded by saying to Getty Images, wow, I stand corrected, I guess. I and multiple family members and a childhood friend pointed out it looks like a mildly photoshopped picture of me. I even have a very similar hat and shirt. Yeah.
You all do.
Yes. And it's like,
That's
Yeah.
the point
I
of
would
the
just
article.
like to thank this guy for completely proving our point.
Yeah, he
you know?
completely. But if this had been a few years ago, we would have thought this was an article from The Onion.
Yeah.
You know?
But today we can just laugh and go, yeah, they all look the same. They got the stupid beard, right? The stupid flannel, the stupid hat. And, of course, they think that everything old is new again and that they invented everything or that they understand it on a much higher level than the people. Hipsters will take grandma and grandpa technology, right?
Yeah.
And think that they're making it better. You know what I mean? It's like your grandma and grandpa have already done all this stuff. You're not coming up with anything new and or original.
Well, they're keeping the
I'm really talking about the ironic hipsters, really, is what I'm talking about.
They're keeping the vinyl record industry alive, I guess, because that's
so
cool
did your grandma
now.
and grandpa. They started it, right? I mean, really, Edison started it with the world record. But, I mean, they were the ones with the hi-fi systems and stuff like that.
Yeah.
They really sort of put the whole record collection thing going. I mean, they kept doing it. It wasn't like, teenagers were the only ones buying records, man. I mean, you had, your parents were doing it, grandparents were doing it, because that's just part of the entertainment system. And because your grandparents and your parents, they're the ones that sort of furthered technology, right? To pass it along to you. Like with 8-tracks and the hi-fis, and the whole hi-fi system was like a cabinet, it had all that stuff. And then later on they added the TV to it and all that jazz. It was good stuff.
Oh, wow.
The entertainment center.
Yeah,
like
entertainment center.
It's like, check that out.
Yeah, I think.
Like lift a lid, and then there was a record player and a bar. Another
In a bar.
Yeah, you ever seen those? Yeah.
I remember
It's like you got a record, and then you had a lot of stuff, and then you look, and there was like holes where your stuff went, and he's like, whatever decanter you had in there,
Yeah.
little ice
Those
bucket was.
will be back at IKEA next year.
Yeah.
And it won't be an Onion article.
It'll be like, whoa. And they're like, oh, hey,
The
you can use
IKEA
your phone.
Entertainment
You
Center
can
with bar.
You can Bluetooth connect to it, and you don't have to do. We're like, and hipsters are gonna be like, this is the greatest thing ever, or they're gonna make it. Actually, probably they'll start recreating boom boxes. That'll be like the thing.
Oh gosh, yeah.
And 8-tracks.
Yeah, and 8-tracks,
Oh.
which actually wasn't bad. 8-tracks were great because you could actually select what you wanted to hear. You didn't have to go through all the garbage. That was a bad thing about cassette tapes.
Mm-hmm.
That's
You had to had to fast forward through all the crap to get to the one good song.
Oh.
So especially if they
tape.
didn't put it on there.
But they were kind of flimsy in terms of, they were kind of rickety in terms of their construction. It was a transient technology.
Yeah.
Before cassettes came along.
And it's funny because in New Mexico there is a certain dump where you can find a ton of 8-tracks as well as that E.T. Atari game.
Oh, I heard about that. Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Because it wasn't just the E.T. Atari game. There was also a lot of 8-tracks from very specific groups, like music groups. And you dig through, and if you hit a certain layer of like these 8-tracks,
It's like archaeological digging.
Yeah. You knew you were only a couple feet away from an E.T. game. Yeah.
Yeah, there's actually, it was on Netflix. There was a show.
When you found Final Countdown on 8-track, you're close. You're approaching.
You're skimming it.
E.T.
You're like,
But
Atari E.T.
I'm going to blow through some of the rest of the news that we had, which was extinct cougar spotted in North Carolina.
Yeah, it's funny. This article came out when people were like, oh.
Yeah.
But everybody we've talked to says, yeah, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We see them all the time. So it's like, well, hold on a second. If they're that extinct, right?
Science says it's extinct.
Yeah, but it's like everybody around here is like,
exist.
hell yeah, man, they're all over the place. We call them cougars, they're Black Panthers, that kind of thing.
And
It's
this was
all around
actually
here.
located...
Black Panthers technically cryptid.
Spotted in Nebo, North Carolina, which is in western North Carolina.
That's not far.
Yeah, I guess this chef in Morganton named Billy Hensley posted on Facebook for a Bigfoot research group. He's pretty sure he witnessed a cougar in Nebo and took a couple of pictures of it. He sent those pictures to the Charlotte Observer, and there some people actually looked into it. And this previously thought extinct cougar.
People are like, yeah, I see that.
Yeah.
Cougars in North Carolina.
Yes, there are.
Well, I mean, there used to be cougars in North Carolina for a long time because you had bobcats and also you had mountain lions, all that stuff. It's like when I was growing up and visiting here, like from back in the day, it was common.
And see, that's the thing. It was common when you were growing up, and then, it kind of died down. And then within the past year and a half, there's been a lot of sightings of this thing. And now we have the camera proof, you know?
Yeah.
So they've survived, but we didn't see them for a long time, and now we're seeing them again. So is it because we're invading their, putting houses in the woods now, or is it? I mean, they obviously had a line of.
Well, see, here's what
continuity.
I don't like about this whole thing. It says, although so many people have claimed to seen the wild cat, North Carolina wildlife resource officials officially told the Charlotte Observer that eastern cougars are only found in parts of Florida. Right?
Oh.
Yeah.
And so Jody Owens, who works for the North Carolina Wildlife Resource Commission, said, there are no known cougars in North Carolina. We get lots of reports every year from folks who think they've seen a cougar. Usually it's a house cat or a bobcat, coyote, even dogs and black bears have been misidentified as cougars. They said the same crap in North Carolina and in California. Oh, yeah, no, they're not here. And then what happens in the news? You got one guy had to choke one out and kill it.
Yeah. The
That was
mountain
a recent
lion.
thing,
Yeah.
the mountain lion. Because think about it. I think a lot of what this is, sure, there's been a bunch of misidentifications, I'm sure. But I think that if they had taken all those reports and they were real reports of eyewitness accounts of seeing these things, you'd be kind of freaked out because they would be a lot more in a lot more different places and a lot more probably populated places than otherwise, right?
And that speaks to really rural
Because would
places.
you go to like a national park if you're like, oh, cool, let me cruise on through. Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go walking on the park, and that thing is full of cougars. Those things. I mean, if you're jogging and they're out there doing their thing looking for food, and they see you run, they will come get you because they think you're running away. That's how
Yeah.
I mean, come on. I think a lot of this is to keep people calm.
Yeah. I also think it's more along the lines of we're now entering into a culture of pics or it didn't happen. So you can have those accounts, but unless you have a picture, yeah. And which was funny because literally 30, 40 years ago, if you said, oh my God, I saw a mountain lion here, somebody'd send a hunting party out to go find it, you know? And
yeah. Because somebody go, oh yeah, I've seen that too.
yeah, so I just find it neat
don't
that
worry. They don't exist around here.
and then
just black bears are nice. Just and that's part of it too. They make everything out to be super nice. I mean, come on, these things could be 6 to 8 feet long and weigh 150 pounds.
yes, and then going along the lines of
6 to 8 feet long. Have you ever seen a house cat that big? No, you haven't. Have you ever seen a dog that big? No, you haven't. Quit thinking people are stupid.
but going along
if
the
I
lines,
seen a damn cougar, I would know it's a cougar, right? Wouldn't you? If it jumped across the road, would you be able to tell the difference between a bobcat, which is like small dog size, versus a 6 to 8 foot long cougar?
I don't know.
It's just a house cat.
It's just a house cat.
Yeah, it's like, oh yeah.
But
They only exist in Florida. I don't know how that
going along the lines of cryptids or things that may or may not be cryptids, Bobby shared an article with us about oops apes, and this is actually from
you should tell us all about it.
I found the story on Mysterious Universe about
Yeah.
oop apes.
Yeah.
Out of place apes. I just like that. that was the creep geekiest
Oh,
thing
I
I
get
could
it.
come
Yeah.
up with. At
Out
4
of
o'clock
place.
this morning
Ooh.
when I was not sleeping, I
Yeah.
realized
That's
that.
actually pretty clever. I just put that together. Out of place ape.
You
Yeah.
just think I'd made up oop apes.
Well, no, I just thought they were saying, oops, I've seen an ape.
okay.
But I didn't realize
Well-
out of place.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's something called oop parts, which are out of place artifacts that they
Yeah.
find on archaeological digs. Like they'll find a battery in the desert in
Sumeria.
yeah,
Yeah.
whatever. And it's a thing, and they just kind of try not. They just
Don't know
they
how to
can't
explain it.
they can't explain it, so they just throw it under the rug, kind of thing. So so I knew about oop parts, which I think I just like saying. But then I got a chance to say oop apes on the radio, which is like, yes, I can. So there's a story that the incredible writer, was it Nick
Redfern.
I always
Yeah.
want to say Rick Nedfern. That's terrible. Nick Redfern.
I would just like to thank you in advance.
Dyslexia is
Anytime I
fun,
say his
kids.
name, I'm probably going to say it wrong.
Yeah. And I just did. Thank you. He has it's a story about Arthur Conan Doyle and this monster that he was tracking the story on, and one of the occasion was that they said that this place in Staffordshire, England, actually had a controversial history of out-of-place apes and a British Bigfoot.
Oh.
So I never. So once again, it's if you're talking about, we have bears and stuff here in the United States, but Bigfoot in England, I don't think I've ever heard much about the British Bigfoot.
And Britain, or part of the UK at least, they have that thing about black cats, like the large black cats that nobody seems to confirm.
Like Black Panthers, right?
Yeah. And what's interesting is the Staffordshire case, because I'm trying to read the article as quick as I can. It describes these oops apes, and it's very similar to Bigfoot descriptions, because it's like a large, monstrous, hypnotized ape.
Yeah.
And and when you read about some of the Bigfoot encounters, it's very similar. The hypnotic gaze and large, monstrous. So I kind of think that, especially Sir Conan Arthur Doyle, he's credible, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So out of place apes in Britain, that throws me for a loop.
Yeah, that's a cool story.
Well, there is some reports of Bigfoot actually existing over there, but not like here.
Yeah.
So. But it's in that area of Staffordshire, which is where this event was going on that he was talking about. Very interesting. I mean, there was a series of horse and animal mutilations, and a guy actually went to prison for it. And the story is about Arthur Conan Doyle exploring the case, and he actually got the guy out of jail because they realized that it could have been any one of a number of other things, because there was so much weird stuff going on in this area, including out of place apes.
I wonder how close Staffordshire is to Dartmoor.
Birds of an unknown kind.
Yeah, because
dwarf leopards.
Let's see.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Isn't that where Spring Hill Jack was from? Or is that
Staffordshire? Maybe, but what I'm trying to link is, let's see, Staffordshire to Dartmoor. Dartmoor is where you had the black dogs, or the black cats, and black dogs, and that's where the story, the Hounds of Baskerville.
Oh, the Hounds of Baskerville, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So I'm trying to see how close they all are.
And that's also Arthur Conan Doyle.
Yeah.
Full circle.
And then Dartmoor, because Dartmoor now has that military base or something near it. So
really?
they're very far away. Never mind.
Okay.
They're 4 hours. Okay. So yeah.
That's like the whole country almost.
Yeah.
So unless the ape took an Uber. The ape took an Uber.
I will say most of the route borders like an Air Force base and wilderness and a national park and even more wilderness.
Oh, that's a lot. That's totally... you can do it on foot, in other words. Yeah.
So, but what else we
got? I just wanted to say apes on that.
No, it's actually pretty cool.
So, do we start giving shout outs or info?
I mean, go ahead. Excuse me, go ahead. I was just trying to go through and take a look to see where I read that British Bigfoot.
Oh, Bobby, what's your email address?
It's BobbyB at pastlivesproject.org.
Okay. And the best way to contact you?
That's it.
Okay. And you do have a Facebook group where you make announcements. And that is...
Asheville Past Lives Project.
Okay. So,
I believe.
Yeah. So join up and tell them that you found it from us.
Yes, we actually have a link in the show notes as well.
Yeah.
You can go to the website.
Oh, you got Bobby on the Onion on your page.
Yep. An Onion Bobby.
Onion Bobby.
So...
Thank you for that.
Oh, you're welcome. Anything. But I just want to make sure people know how to get in contact with you, because it's a concept to me that I'm really digging. So I don't know. It's Western North Carolina, so we can get the word out.
And you'll be you guys will be on the 11th over here at M&D?
Yes, because
I'm coming to your neighborhood.
Yes. Will
you be back from your jaunt?
We will be going to the Georgia Bigfoot Conference. That's actually
April 26th.
The 26th and through the 28th.
Yep.
Yeah. But it's down in Clayton, Georgia. And
Clayton, Georgia.
And we're really excited because we don't know how it's going to go. And it's going to be our first Bigfoot style conference. So.
And you'll have a booth there?
Yes, we're going to have a vendor booth. So
excellent.
We'll be vendorizing people.
And our friends from M&D have a presentation there.
Yes, they will have a booth as well as a presentation or talk.
Too.
Yeah.
Excellent. Oh wow.
So
unfortunately, it's sold out.
It did.
That's awesome.
Yep.
The good news is they sold out. The bad news is they sold out, because I didn't think about going to Clayton.
Well, Clayton, Georgia. Unless you looked at it, you would think would be in Georgia, which from where we are in Western North Carolina can be kind of far away, but it's like 2.5 hours away.
Just over the
it's like you kind of drop down there. It is so. Because when we first looked at it, we're like, oh no, let's go all the way to Georgia. Because we're thinking, usually when you think of Georgia and you're not from there, you think of like Atlanta, which is pretty far away. So, So going to Clayton.
Excellent. Well, I look forward to the report from the Bigfoot convention. On an upcoming podcast.
Hopefully it'll be good.
Yeah, we're gonna have some exclusive swag and a couple of neat things for sale, and you get to meet the Creep Geeks.
Yes.
So, but we're going to put Bobby's info in the show notes to this podcast episode.
Yes.
And if you do have any questions, shoot Bobby a message on Facebook in his Facebook group, or reach out to us and we can try to help you out as well.
And vice versa.
Yes. And if you do want to get in contact with the show, that's going to be contact@creepgeeks.com. Do want to take a moment to talk about, we have a very active Facebook page as well as a Facebook group. Type Creep Geeks into Facebook and you'll find both. So, yeah.
Yes.
Can't think of what else to say.
No, I think we about covered it, actually.
Yeah.
It's been a wild discussion. I was going to say lively. I don't know why I was thinking about wild, but
yeah.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. Always.
Is there anything we're missing?
Here.
Well, the only
So
thing...
just to recap, got the event. It's going to be here, the monthly gathering, March 11th.
7 p.m.
7 p.m. Snacks. Bobby's going to be here. Snacks. Right. This is bullet points for all this stuff. The Georgia Bigfoot Conference. It's at the end of April in Clayton, Georgia. Right. What else are we missing?
We discussed past lives.
And on our YouTube channel for Creep Geeks,
which
if you look for Creep Geeks, not Crepe Geeks, we're going to have videos coming out here within the next week. The first video will be the interview that we did with the owners of the Off the Wagon
Dueling
Piano
Bar.
Bar, Asheville. We did an interview with them so they could kind of tell us some of the experiences they were experiencing for the investigation that we did with M&D as part of that. So that's coming out in the next couple days or so, actually. And we'll have more videos, too, for all the investigations that have been. So other than that, that's I think about all I can think of.
Yeah, we've been kind of, as far as Creep Geeks is concerned, we've been trying to ramp up for this conference. So everything else has just been as we get to it. So, but once this conference is over with, we're probably going to do a little more full swing stuff. And, hope to have more guests like Bobby on.
Yeah. It's all right. Yep. Everybody good?
Excellent. Thank you, guys.
You're very welcome.
All right.
So I'd just like to take a second and tell everybody. You like that?
How much I like peanut butter.
I do enjoy the peanut butter. No, I do appreciate you guys tuning in, and be sure to listen to us again. We'll be back next week, and we'll have even more stuff for you to listen to. And for those of you out there who support the channel, very much appreciated, and support the podcast, very much appreciated. But anyway, see you later. Take it easy. Bye, Sickle.
Bye.
I like peanut butter. I like peanut butter. Peanut butter. I like peanut butter. I like peanut butter. I like peanut butter. Peanut butter. I like peanut butter.